This conference will now be recorded.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item of business is to approve the agenda. Any additions, corrections, deletions?
Just a note, the Massey tractor was, I thought we were discussing selling the road grader this month, but you, I requested to have it.
I requested to bring that up
Are
too,
we
yeah.
still discussing the road grader then this month, or remember we kind
I
of?
think we could probably hump them.
I think that's actually can be considered old business since we started last month.
Okay, that's all I
And
have.
that was, yeah, that's why I wanted you to both here. You probably have more expertise and going forward. You can add that possibility of selling Massey tractor and road grader. Is that approved by everybody?
I would move the motion to add that.
Motion's been made to add road grader with the discussion of selling Massey. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and second. Is there any further business or any further discussion? Yeah, try to get that in 8 minutes. Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of adding a road grader to the discuss possibility of selling Massey tractors, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion's carried. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'd make that motion.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to accept the agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion's carried. Next item is the minutes of the May 18th meeting.
I only see one just spelling on the fifth paragraph, online attendees, Todd McLeod. It's McLeod. That's all I've seen, just a spelling there.
Chris Dane, was that right? I know it's Chris Dane from over at Peterson.
Attendance
Online.
online?
Okay.
I don't think so. I can check on that.
Are we required to have that in the meeting, who shows up online?
No, it's not a,
Okay.
we just,
In that case, is there any further discussion? If not, we'll have a motion to accept the minutes as amended with the correction of Mr. McClellan's spelling.
It just works, Dan, in case someone says, oh, I didn't get to see the packet. Well, yeah, because you were online, so.
Gotcha.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'd make that motion.
Motion has been made to approve the minutes of the May 18th meeting. Is there a second?
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the May 18th monthly meeting. Is there any further discussion?
I would like to abstain from my vote on it because I was not present at the last meeting.
Is there any further discussion? If there is no further
I
discussion,
do have is this an attachment?
yes,
Did everybody see that attachment?
that's referred to in there.
Okay.
okay, is there any further discussion? Any additions, corrections? Motion has been made and seconded to approve the May 18th monthly meeting minutes. If there's no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion's carried. We will move on to open forum.
Joel Minks. Just a little bit of information. You're the weed inspector. Have you seen any wild parsnip yet?
Not that, a couple years ago, I know it was getting pretty wild, but nothing yet.
So are you people familiar with wild parsnip?
Is that that yellow
It's
stuff?
the old,
Yeah.
it burns.
And it's toxic to basically the UV light. Well, if you go to County Road 13 from 4 all the way to the church,
Okay.
it's pretty infested with wild parsnip. Now, I talked to Soil and Water this morning, and they are tracking that stuff. Supposedly they got a program, but if you see it, it should be mowed now.
Yep. Is those are on county roads, right?
That is county
Yep,
road,
yep.
yes. And I did the horseshoe
Around?
round,
Okay.
both horseshoes around, and I don't see any up there, and I
Okay.
didn't see any up to Jeans. It's just on that
That's
county
right.
road, and they kind of think that it more or less started in this territory by the Zion Church.
Okay.
So they've been trying to control that stuff for,
Because I know we are looking at taking mowers out within the next week or so
yeah. So I mean,
to kind of try and knock some of that down.
the only way that stuff transfers is by seed.
Okay.
It's not by roots. So if you get it early enough, the seed doesn't form, and
Mhm.
but it's just something we're gonna live with. But anybody wants more information on, just Google it. And the DNR's got a big long
It's
spiel.
come about in the last couple of years,
Yeah,
is what it is. And
we started seeing it probably 10 years ago in Sherburne County is when we
Okay.
first ran into the stuff and ran into it. It's literally what happened, and you want to stay away from that stuff.
Yeah.
It's bad. So I just want to make people aware that it's,
Can I ask what's the first date when we can legally mow ditches?
that is a big problem. And I don't know how,
August 1st.
I don't know how the state handles not just weeds, so. But if you can't mow for weeks yet, see, then you miss the
Right.
whole window. And I think last year, the county was out as soon as we saw it start to blossom. So they were out before the restrictions on mowing. But because of the nature of that stuff, I think you wanna,
because it looks like the state is out mowing already too.
could be, because you don't want little kids to get into that
No.
stuff. So, okay, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Oh, they're mowing the ditches bad.
Any other open forum? No followers, so any other open forum? If not, we'll close open forum. We'll move on to Clerk-Treasurer Report.
Okay, let's start with the cash control. Beginning balance in the general fund was 67,238.36. Receipts of 85,69.36. Disbursements 21,249.64, leaving an ending balance of 54,558.08.
And this does not include the,
Right, it doesn't include the investment. Yeah. And then the road and bridge, beginning balance of 230,055.16, receipts of $2.89, disbursements of 1,706.18 for an ending balance of 228,351.87.
any questions? I mean, it seems like that's not enough for what we paid out.
I'm sorry,
It doesn't seem like that's enough for what we paid out.
last month,
Our disbursements for Road and Bridge.
1706. I don't think we had any real bills.
I thought it was a lower number, but just barely 1,000.
1,706.
Any other further questions about cash control statement? If not, we'll entertain a motion to accept the cash control statement.
Gonna move that motion.
Motion been made. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve cash control statement. Is there any further discussion? Any further questions?
I do have a question here with the escrow. I think this showed up on last month's. There's a negative 100. Have we figured that out yet?
Yeah, it was a, no, I don't know specifically what accounts for that $100.
Yeah.
When I ran the report, it said that the amount to refund was that whatever we refunded doesn't show there. But that's what we refunded according to the report. And then it shows up $100 short. So I'll need to track that down. I didn't get that specifically tracked down. I did look at it. I didn't see anything particular, coming in later that would have kicked that into negative territory. So I don't know why the report gave me that number.
I do remember discussing it last month and Scott did mention something.
Well, he said he would be generous enough to, but it wasn't your charge that did, it wasn't a late charge and it did.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the cash control statement? If there are no further questions, discussion on cash control statement, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to accept the cash control statement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion's carried. May payroll.
Net pay was $3,885.54, down a little bit from the previous month. Not as many hours, not as many meetings. So basically that was it. Yeah, it's pretty standard amount for that. You have the net pay statement, right?
Any questions? We'll entertain a motion to accept the May payroll statement.
I move that motion.
And is there a second?
I would second that.
Motion been made and second to approve the May payroll. Is there any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of accepting the May payroll, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion's carried. Claims for approval.
Now you have the list there. The one point I wanted to make is that we have the invoice for the first half of the fire contract and there's $27,545. So that's a big chunk of that, of what's in there. And that's fairly standard.
Any discussion on the claims for approval?
Oh, I do want to note too that we received the refund from Ziegler. So that's all clarified and
The
then,
windshield's all done.
pardon me?
The windshield bill is,
Yeah,
okay.
and it's been turned into insurance. So
What happened there was we ordered one windshield, come to find out it was the wrong windshield. So the new windshield we got, the right one was actually just cheaper, so.
they sent a refund for $358 and it's been applied and then I sent everything, the package off to insurance.
There are motions to accept the claims for approval. I'll make that motion. Is there a second to the motion to accept claims for approval?
Second that.
Is there any further discussion on the claims? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of accepting the claims for approval, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion's carried.
Okay, one more point that I want to bring up. We have two checking accounts essentially. One that we pay bills from and one that just sits there because it's accruing massive amounts of interest. And that's the money market account. And it would simplify matters and also make them funds available if we just close that account, transfer the money into the other. You'll recognize this amount, receipts for interest last month from that account, $2.89. Total for the year, year to date is $14.10 that we made in interest on that account. Had it been in the other account, probably would have come in probably would have paid about $6. So you figure we would lose about $8. Would have lost about $8 by having it together. But it just simplified management, and I just don't see the point of having that account. We get to the point where we need funds from it, which we did when we did the 33rd and 82nd, 33rd. Then we have to transfer the money over. But if you can give me permission to do that, that's what I would propose.
Why did we have a money market account set to start with?
I don't know. It goes back before I came, but my suspicion is that it was paying better interest at the time.
Sure.
I think
But now-
we're getting about 8% when it
Yeah.
was first put in the money market.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and
That's
the money would
essentially a
just be,
CD.
pardon me?
Is that considered a CD?
No, it's a money market
So
account.
it's
We
basically
have a
just a CD.
CD.
Okay, that's separate then.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
sitting, that has $108,000 in it.
Okay.
And the interest in that is we saw in the gentleman from the banks, Scott, Mark O'Lean, yeah. He said that's plunging as well.
Sure.
But, I mean, that's fine. That doesn't, it's not a factor, I guess, until you decide you need it. But I think that was just, the money market, I believe, Gene, correct me if I was wrong, but wasn't that designated as a place to park money to be used on roads? Or was that not stated?
I think we just had that available funds and at 8% we thought it was something we shouldn't have just have in the checkbook.
Yeah.
I don't think it was really designated.
Okay, well, anyways, it's sort of worn out its usefulness, so that's what I'm proposing.
Make sure life easier, and that's not drawing anything for interest, why balance two checkbooks?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't require any balancing, it's just sitting there. So nothing comes out of it. Nothing goes into it, it just sits there and,
I would move the motion to close the money market account. I mean, you sit there and think about just your time trying to balance that checkbook with the interest. You're paying for your labor right there.
Is there a second to the motion to close the money market account?
I'd second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to close the money market account. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to close the money market account, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion's carried. Secretary, then it's open. Did
pardon me,
I hear something from you?
paper rattling?
I thought I heard a clear your throat. No, okay. We'll move on to the zoning administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Scott Muller, owner of property in section 27, it's off of County Road 1, 75th Avenue. Asked the planning commission again to consider a subdivision, a sketch plan, as well as a comprehensive plan change and rezoning for that property. Within the packet, there is a sketch plan that he has provided that includes properties that are just to the north of Den High Estates and the preserve at Princeton. We did hold a meeting back in November, just an informational meeting at the Planning Commission. At the time, the residents, at least in that area, were not pleased. It may have been more of some design issues than just having the additional houses to the north. But anything that is done on this property would require a comp plan change and rezoning in the way that Mr. Mueller wants to redevelop this, and that he's looking at R1 style development or R1 sizing for lots. Planning Commission had looked at it back in December, but then went down the road of looking at what was the history of some of those developments and how they were created. Again, with those 1 acre lots in the plan unit development, that was the result of that discussion. So the Planning Commission again discussed in June at Mr. Mueller's request, and the Planning Commission is open to looking at studying again the comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning for this property. They recommended the town board provide some direction. The next step, if you're willing to have the Planning Commission take a look at this and work with Mr. Mueller on this, would be the Planning Commission at their July meeting, just to take a closer look then at the sketch plan and interconnections between streets and so forth. Scott is here, so if there's any questions. So again, it's just a simple, at least a direction to the Planning Commission on how you'd like to proceed with this.
Scott, last time this actually came to the Planning Commission, wasn't this more approached as rezoning the entire section 27 and 34, and now we're looking at it as just rezoning his individual property?
No, it wasn't looking really at rezoning the entire thing. It was really looking at this property specifically, but as long as we're there, taking a look at some of those development areas closer to the city, and did it make sense? Planning Commission really wasn't willing, at least back in November, to make any radical land use or zoning changes. But there seemed to be a little bit of a change of heart in the Planning Commission, at the beginning of this year. But specifically what the Planning Commission will look at now is just what Mr. Mueller has provided, and that's this sketch plan.
Now, the information I have in front of me, there's one map dated September 23rd of 2020 that only has one PID highlighted, so it looks like we're with this new layout, it's 3 PIDs that are affected.
Yeah, it looks like the one that's highlighted is what he started with, that 0300. Then there's the moonshine, and so it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, it's 16-027 0200 is the majority of it. And then I believe the 0202 that surrounds the moonshine is a separate PID number.
And 0300. So those 3.
And 0300, yeah.
The bulk of those properties are currently zoned A. A small portion of the 0300 is zoned R2, if I recall, Scott.
Yes, it's R2.
About 4 acres on the front there that's zoned R2. And the rest of that property, total about 99 acres.
Scott,
Yes.
can you come up so we can, it won't be on the, I want to make sure it gets.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
So it is the three properties. The bulk of it is currently zoned A. But 300, the 16-027-300 is zoned A. That land has not been farmed in decades. It's not very available for farming. It's not, what it's used for is the neighborhood kids to ride their dirt bikes on. Yes.
I'm just sorry, 0300 according to the map is actually R2. That's what it shows. Or, I'm sorry, rural residential.
Real residential, and then there's a bit of R2. Yeah.
Rural
On the west
residential, okay. But right now, it's not really available. Okay, so I'm mistaken because I was told that it was zoned R2 and A. But maybe that's incorrect.
Yeah, that's true.
So-
I mean, the reports of, through the months of, no, actually, this property wasn't affected by the land use changes, but yeah, it's always been that way. And that's how we've reported it, so.
So this property has a vacant or an abandoned house. It's been abandoned for decades and also has an abandoned trailer house on it. It hasn't been used for any real purpose in many decades. The 0202 property is the land that surrounds the Moonshine Bar. And then the 0200 is currently being farmed. I leased that property. So it's 52 acres there. And so I'm requesting that all three of these parcels be rezoned R1. And I would like it to be R1. That first parcel is quite a narrow parcel, and then the parcels around the Moonshine Bar are quite narrow. And by the time that you put roads in, it gets quite costly per lot if you don't, if you can't get the smaller lot size of the R1 would allow 1.25 acre lots. I argue that that's more consistent with the neighborhoods to the south and to the east, that Denhigh and Spruce Haven, and I think there's one other name I can't recall off the top of my head. Those are typically, most of those lots are 1 acre lots. And Scott, if you could remind me, what they were developed under?
A planned unit development.
A
Yeah.
planned unit development?
Planned unit development, so just a
And-
process.
I was informed that the township currently does not have an ordinance for that.
That's
process
correct.
any longer. So, but that's what that's all those lots, and they went back and kind of learned the history of how we got 1 acre lots, or even some of them are even less than 1 acre. Of course, so the smallest unit that we have right now is 1.25 acres under the R1. I'm trying to make the case that number one, economically, it's difficult for me to put roads into these properties under R2, that I would request R1, so they have more lots to spread the cost of the infrastructure over. Secondly, that it would be consistent with the neighborhood to the south and to the east. So it's consistent. It is the location of these properties that are fairly close to town. And that it would be beneficial to the township in that it would provide additional exit points, especially out of Spruce Haven. There's a dead end cul-de-sac there on the north that I would propose that we connect to the township road that runs along Moonshine, provide an additional exit out of that neighborhood. It would also eliminate that cul-de-sac. And then we would provide roads that would, I think what you attached, Scott, is some sketches that show some of the roads.
You're talking about this?
Yep.
Yep, that's.
Yep. In addition, as I've come to the township board meetings, it's pretty clear from what I've been hearing that there's a shortfall in funding for the township for road maintenance. And I would argue that this should provide a much needed tax base for the township to help fix our budget problems and get our roads in the maintenance. There would be about 70 lots. I think it would provide roughly about $40,000 a year of revenue to the township once the project is completed. Over 10 years, that's $400,000 or $500,000 of additional tax revenue to the township. And in that 10-year period of time, there'd be minimal, if any, cost other than snow plowing, really, to the township. So it would be a net plus to the township and its tax base and help provide some much needed funds. I'm really here that the planning commission, I've been kind of coming at this for almost 2 years and gotten really nowhere. And I'm here to find out if the board would put some support behind this. Planning commission, to be honest with you, is not that in favor of it. And I have been delayed and delayed and delayed. And those delays, they cost money. And a lot of time's been squandered through those delays. And so I guess I really just want to get a feeling as to whether or not the township board would have some interest in pursuing and pushing this forward, because I'm not going to continue to spend money on this project because it costs money to hire engineers and and people to do the work, to do the planning, if there isn't some kind of support to move it forward and to see the benefit to the township. So I'm open to any questions anybody might have for me.
In your drawing that you got here, and then in the map they got here, your 1,300, is that your, part of your property there? The 127, 1,300?
27,
That's the triangle piece? I don't think so. Is it, Scott?
no, that is not mine.
Okay.
There are houses there.
That's
Okay.
abandoned house, right?
No, there are a couple houses along there that, there are, along County Road 1 there.
So it's just south of Moonshine, over by Denham down here. So this is 95 across.
Okay.
So this is the road that goes back to Moonshine. Yep, the blacktop. There's Moonshine, just south of there, and north of there.
Gotcha.
And
Well-
then high estates are down here.
You guys remember a few months ago when I was looking at just the cost of the roads, and I did an analysis on what type of revenue some of these lots generate. We started getting into the point, I think I even made a recommendation when I presented that if we're gonna have larger lot sizes, that maybe we should take it out of our provisions that they have to be paved roads, because once we start getting up into that 2.5 acre plus, they're just barely breaking even. All these areas that have smaller lots, they pay for the pavement. But, then again, not having pavement is expensive too, because there's a lot of traffic that's running in there. So I don't know how we could not request that the roads be paved with this much of a density, higher density.
My only concern is if you're gonna allow 1 acre parcels here, well, then what's to stop the properties in the north and just, compounding to 1 acre lots and changing the whole subdivision provision in our comprehensive plan altogether from 2.5 to 1.
I'm not asking for 1, I'm asking for 1.25, which is under current zoning at 1.
Well,
R1.
yeah, I'm aware, but we're still, right now we're currently at that 2.5.
You actually have R1 zoning in your ordinance.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? It's just gonna be a compound effect.
This property currently is not even zoned for R1.
But I'm looking long term. Okay, well, we let it slide last time. Okay, do we let it go next time? And it compounds.
I see what you're saying, but I also look at it too, is on the map here, you got all this that's developed at R1.
Yep.
And then it all switches to egg, where it's
Yep.
2 houses per 40 acres. I mean, that's a little ridiculous. I mean, if you want to go from R1, maybe then you go to your rural residential where you got 2.5 acre lots, and you go a little bit further north, and then your 2-year egg conservation area.
Well, 16.027.0100 is protected by a building or feedlot permit.
Incorrect, if there's no building there from when.
I checked with the county and they don't have a problem with it.
Didn't you say for his feedlot permit to be valid or whatever, he actually has to have a building there? So if there's no building there.
That's, I talked to Dennis Amachild, he said he came up with a different answer. He said
I've gotten personally 2
as
feet.
long as they have access to hauling manure on it, it can be considered a feedlot, protected feedlot permit.
As long as there isn't a structure there, it's not an issue. I mean, they can still spread manure, and still spread tens and thousands of gallons of manure across the road from Dan and I.
I also made a call just to get a little background on this. I called Chris Berg. He's filling 2 shoes up there. Dylan Hayes was up there and Michelle McPherson. And I asked him to come to tonight's meeting, and he was going to until yesterday, and he had some personal issues tonight that he couldn't make it. But I asked that he come to speak to the planning commission and the board to maybe calm some fears about the size of lots. And he sent me to table 501, which is the county's zoning. And he said that, where we're looking at here, this might fit into the AR, which is the agricultural residential zoning. And I don't know. From what I understood from historically, part of the reason we're doing our own zoning is because decades ago, the county didn't really have a lot of zoning rules. Now they've done a lot, sounds like they've done an awful lot to change their zoning. It wouldn't hurt to look at what they have now and maybe be a little closer to what they have, because some of the stuff that we have, I mentioned to him about the egg. He I don't want to speak for him, but he basically said that he thought that some of the egg stuff was really restrictive, just 2 homes per. But I don't know if that was, he was thinking agriculture, conservation agriculture. But I guess before we move too much further with this, it'd be nice to hear from what Chris Berg has to say on some of these and answer some questions and concerns that we might have. Because it would still be zone ag, but it also allows residential. Did you look into this at all?
No, again, I would agree that the ag conservation district is real restricted with just 2 units per 40/40. But, that's the county's regulations. We have our own zoning.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I guess if the town board wants to direct us to make changes to that, that's the next step. Study that. But, and I've looked at that table also. But again, it doesn't necessarily apply to us because we have our own zoning.
But I guess what I'm getting at is if we are looking at some of these things and looking at the whole plan, it wouldn't hurt to kind of look at it all again if we're going to go down that road. Because right now I just feel like we're piecemealing stuff and we haven't maybe taken I haven't been to the board meetings, the planning commission, but.
True.
It-
Yeah, right now they're
We're just
looking
kinda-
at accessory buildings and setbacks and stuff like that. But again, if the board wants to have us take a more global look at all our zoning districts, again, that's a big undertaking and
Yeah,
it's
I
something
know.
you would have to do. In the meantime, we've got Mr. Moeller, who's kind of at our doorstep right now, asking for some direction.
I personally don't think that an acre and a half is enough to have a well and 2 septic sites. And when you're putting 70 houses in, or whatever it is, in 90 acres, eventually you're gonna have, somebody's gonna flood the toilet and their neighbor's water is gonna turn yellow. And it's gonna come back to the township's responsibility to cover up for the fact that we let something happen that shouldn't have.
How many houses are currently over in that area right now and between the Den High and all that?
I guess I haven't done the number on that, but there is, it's a pretty good density through that area to the south.
I would disagree with that argument that Gene just made, not respectfully, Gene, is these houses to the south and to the east are acre or less lots, and they have septic, sewer, or water. And in today's day and age with drill wells and with what we have with modern septic systems, every lot by code is required to have 2 septic sites. And they have to meet code. And they have to be put in place with modern techniques of putting in a septic system. And I just don't see that. An acre and a quarter for a house is quite a bit of property. And a lot's not going to qualify as a lot if it doesn't have 2 valid septic sites. If it doesn't have 2 valid septic sites, well, guess what? That lot's going to have to be bigger because it can't be used as an acre and a quarter. It'll have to meet code and have 2 valid septic sites before that is a qualified lot, regardless if it's zoned R1 or not.
And I guess that's the point I was trying to make. It'd be nice to have somebody, you're giving your side, Gene's getting, we're all going from our opinion. I personally like to see one of the professionals come in and explain to us what can a lot sustain.
We're way beyond the days of people putting in sandpoint wells that are 15 feet in the ground. Everybody today has a drilled well that's gonna be 60, 80, 100 feet deep.
those are some of the questions I asked Chris.
Yeah, and I think, Bill, that's a good idea that if we are going to be looking at 1.25 acre lots, we should get the county involved in, especially in this particular area, determine, do the soil boring support, the septic systems and so forth. So, yeah, I think we would have to have some involvement with the county on that.
Because it goes both ways. I mean, it goes, we want to be protecting the neighbors that are existing, but also we want to look at the current property owner with what he's wanting to do with his, I know at this point it's zoned ag, but I don't know, I just think we should have a broader discussion with a few experts if we could.
And the planning commission, unless the town board wants to host that, but at the July meeting, we could have Chris there or whomever from the county and have that discussion with them. Town board members could be present there. So,
I'll reach out to him and invite him or if he'd like to,
yeah, I can do it.
if everyone's okay with that.
I mean, it would be nice to hear it from an actual expert. I guess that's, he's the one that knows it.
Yeah, I think that's a valid discussion as part of, again, we're still in just sketch plan review, sketch plan discussion. Not only are the planning commission going to discuss the interconnections between neighborhoods, but obviously if the water and sewer systems would work in this area. I mean, and Chris is going to know, exactly, but can give us some of the background that we probably need.
Would he have the knowledge, or who would we have to get the information from on the feedlot? Because we've got two sides of the story to the feedlot on that. I mean, Tom Brown's got his and Scott's got his. They both got feedlot permits. So it'd be kind of nice.
Yeah, we might have to get them involved also. I don't know who at the county level does that, but.
I think that's actually handled through the state, isn't it? Through the-
Yeah.
Is it? Okay, can't be safe.
You have a contact for that?
I just have worked with the state when I've got 2 feedlot permits and both of them were dealing with putting up structures. And you have to be so many feet from the existing structures. If he doesn't have a structure there, I'd say he does. You can spread manure all day long on an open field. And you would have to, in certain circumstances, depending on how much manure you're spreading, have to have a feedlot permit to do that. And it's for that manure spreading. That's completely different than a structure.
And you're not even, well, yeah, that one property is adjacent to it.
This is the property that,
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about this corner.
well, all of this. So this,
Well, this little, you only got this little corner right now.
Tom Brown owns the strip of property that runs along County Road 1.
Yeah, that's 0-100 on the PID.
To the north.
See that? See that little corner right here? This is 27, and then this is the corner right here. This one. Tiny right here. We got out right now at this point. That's right, the map shows.
Have you ever looked at why trying to find it, I know it's here somewhere. What was happened in 2001 to 2005, why that was deemed to be unacceptable?
What was deemed unacceptable?
What's that?
What was deemed unacceptable?
Planned unit development.
Oh, so you're referring to the planned view development?
Yeah.
I look back through the minutes and I think there was just a change of heart among the town board members. They saw that by opening that up, that they were getting a lot of these 1 acre developments. And they said, maybe we don't want to develop that way. I think that's the general sense I've gotten, at least from reading the minutes. They pulled back from that idea once all of a sudden the developers started rolling in with these subdivisions.
I don't have that. I believe there was more than just a fancy in getting rid of the PUD ordinance.
So I guess the discussion point for the town board tonight is, would you like us to do more work on a planning commission level with Mr. Moeller, invite the county in, do some more research with the MPCA and the feedlot permits? Or is there just a feeling that this area should remain in its current zoning, most of it being in ag conservation?
I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with the conservation district at all. So I would be more apt to having somebody from the county come in and contact the MPCA and get a little more information on these feedlots to make sure that we're acting properly there.
I would have no problem with going to 2.5, but I just, from someplace down the line at 1.25 acre lots or with 90 more houses or 70 more houses, it's just asking for the township to be liable someplace down the road for contaminated wells.
Liable or next even, especially if the roads are paved.
The biggest reason that they did that in 2001 was basically they said, well, if we build these density housings, then the city will never want to annex because they wouldn't want the cost of replacing wells and septic systems.
How does annexation work? Because didn't you actually touch base on that last month? The city's redoing their septic or their wastewater treatment facility and contemplating on getting water across the river. So if they get water across the river and Scott hasn't developed this, can they go right up to that and annex that?
It's gotta be it's gotta touch the city.
You have to touch, you have to touch the city limits, which this area doesn't. You have to go further to the west. But again, there's different ways to annex, and that's another question that I'd have to because the city can annex if it's contiguous to its borders. I believe 60 acres without approval by the town board, but there's other levels too. And with agreement of all the property owners, that's another form of annexation. So yeah, that's a different study.
And there's too much between before they'd even make it out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
There's quite a bit
Yeah,
between.
there is. Yeah.
Any more questions, comments?
I'd like to hear from the experts, at least a couple of them.
That's, if you need that on a motion, I'd make that a motion to have the guy from the county and do some research with the NPCA and come to the July planning commission meeting and actually we'll have the experts there and they answer questions.
Why don't you have Dan Gustafson from the University of Minnesota that does all of the research and development for septic systems in the whole state. He's done that for 25 years. I've gone to continuing ed with him since 1995, and he's knows more about septics than anybody else in the state because he's designed them all and done all the research on them. Chris Berg is I deal with him all the time too, and Chris Berg is no more expert than anybody else. I mean, he's a good man, but he's acre and a quarter. You keep saying that's a bad number. Look around the community here, and all acre and a quarter lots that have been in since 2000, 20 plus years. You take an acre and a quarter is roughly 60,000 square feet. There's 55,000. A house takes 4,000 square feet. A septic system takes 4,000 for each one of them. That's a big mound in the research. So now we're using up a whole 10,000, 12, say 15,000 square feet of 55,000. You drill a well up 80 or 100 feet in the ground, and you put the septic system 100 feet away from it. I mean, it's just, if you don't want it, say so. I mean, that's a simple fact of it. But to say that, you talk about contamination and overrunning the community. One of the reasons that you cut the small unit development out is because they were plunking them out on 95 out there because Charles Sanford had owned the land in his brother. And then you put those south of 55th Street and all over, you got little developments. Well, that's
what you call just throwing them out there. But we're expanding from the edge of town here, for heaven's sakes. I mean, it's just, really, you're making a big mistake.
Motion has been made to have experts come to the BC meeting in July. There's a second.
July 12th, I think it is. Yep, July 12th, because of the holiday.
Oh, I keep thinking it's already at your meeting.
Is there a second to that motion?
I would second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to have experts from the county, BC, motion control, and or else come to the planning commission meeting on July 12th. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to have experts come to the planning commission meeting on July 12th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion's carried.
Mr. Chair, the next item we have is a request by Eric and Rachel Walker for a side yard setback variance. Would allow for construction of a pole barn at 10756 40th Street. Property is within section 18. The applicants propose a 27-foot setback from the east property line. Property is zone ACA conservation. And of course, similar to all our setbacks, a 35-foot setback from side property lines is required. The Planning Commission discussed this at some length at their June 7th meeting, recommended that the variance be approved. There's an existing concrete patio and fire pit and two mature trees that the Walkers are trying to avoid with the location of this pole barn. If they place the pole barn at the 35-foot setback, I believe the fire pit would be only like 10, 12 feet away from the side of that structure, which the Planning Commission was thought to be too close. So with that, and again, because of those existing situations, I mean, they talked about, could the fire pit be moved and so forth. There are some pictures in your packet that show it's a fairly substantial investment he's got already. Carl Sanford is the property owner to the east. He was at the meeting and expressed he had no concerns with this also. So that is the recommendation of the Planning Commission. There's a resolution also in your packet with.
I just have a question on some of these recommendations. So number 4 says no storage will be allowed in the setback area. So he can't put anything on the east side of the building at all.
Right. The thought of the Planning Commission was if you're going to have a minimal or a less than 35-foot setback, that he not to include storage in that area, that if he wants to do storage, he does in another part of the lot. Again, the purpose of the pole barn is to put all that stuff in the building, but.
I mean, it doesn't, I guess if I look at that, I'd be like, so I can't use 27 feet of just because I've got a 7-foot variance? Or 30,
Yeah.
I don't know, that just seems to me, I mean, you just took away 27 feet of his property that he can't.
Sure. Again,
I don't know.
recommendation of the Planning Commission.
Yeah.
Was it
So
so?
look at
I'm here if
somebody's,
there's any questions.
Oh, Rachel? Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't met you, so thank you.
so if he was here, Rachel would build within 35 feet, would they be able to put anything up there?
Sure, they could. Again, it was just a condition kind of at the last minute of the Planning Commission that felt that if they were going to give a variance, that they couldn't do storage in that area.
What is our current zoning ordinance on unlicensed vehicle storage? 'Cause I mean, that would be the only thing I would be concerned of is, not saying that you do or anything, but they're not gonna be storing unlicensed old junk cars out there. I mean, if they're gonna park their $40,000 Lund boat next to their garage because they're, whatever, I don't have a problem in the world with that. I mean, they own the land, they're paying the taxes. on it, so
Sure.
Do we have anything as far as
You can't have more than 3.
is it 3? Okay.
Isn't that state statute? Can't have more than 3 unlicensed vehicles in the
I don't know if you're
That,
around the conversation. A lot more than that.
I guess I'm not aware of that, Gene. I could look into that, but I guess I'm not aware. You don't get, if you don't like that condition 4, you just strike it.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, I mean, store, I don't know what the storage, I mean, if you want to stack your wood on the east side, you can't now.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think that should be put in there at all. They have up to their property line to put whatever they want, wherever they want.
Sure.
And what does number 1 mean? So the variance shall expire with, if they don't build it, if they don't construct the building, they have to come back for another.
Right,
That's all it says.
right. That's what the ordinance says.
Okay.
My question, do you know what the price of lumber is?
Yeah, it's already paid for.
Already bought it.
Oh, that's right, it's already scheduled to deliver.
I honestly don't see the issue with it. I don't know who Dan said or Bill said, you're already paying the taxes on it, it's your ground. Why? And I can understand the respect to the neighbors. We got cornfield in the backyard. We don't have another resident in the backyard.
What size is your lot?
0.8 acres.
Yeah, 2.8, 330 feet in width.
How big is the barn?
40 by 56.
40 by 50? I didn't see it there.
That was my only thought, which currently is not in our ordinance right now, so we wouldn't be able to deny the variance based on that. But like I said last month, some of these smaller lots, and 2.5 acre lots, really shouldn't be getting 40 by 60, 2,400 square foot buildings, or especially if we move forward with Scott's, there they shouldn't be getting in, I mean,
Yeah.
then we're gonna have to get that updated, but I mean, that's down the road, so we can't really base this on that, but,
Planning Commission at their last meeting started talking about that, and we pulled some examples, and Greenbush just updated their ordinance, and they did a really nice job. So we're using that kind of as something to look at, so.
Yeah, I would move the motion to approve the variance request. Just based on the circumstances, you have no neighbors in the backyard. I mean, you're up against a cornfield. Why do you have to?
Is that was striking
Yeah.
condition 4? That
Yeah,
seems like
striking
none of you like, okay.
Sorry.
We prefer to keep things neat, so.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant the variance, striking number 4. No storage shall be allowed in setback area between the pole building and the property line. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of, and this requires a 4/5 vote. All in favor of the motion to allow the variance request, striking number 4. We'll call roll call. Mr. Duden?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Wickham?
Aye.
Mr. Wilhelm?
Aye.
Motion is carried by a unanimously vote.
Clarification. Was that a motion to approve the resolution?
Yes.
Okay,
Striking number 4.
okay. Just for my peace of mind, please say resolution in the motion. Thank you.
We're gonna get yelled at.
You're gonna get yelled at. Not you.
Is there anything else?
No, I'm sorry. That's it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any old business? No. If there's no further old business, we'll move on to new business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to discuss the possibility of selling the grader and Massey tractor. Is there one or the other?
Well, we start with the the greater damages that was on the initial.
I think, like I said last month, if we're not gonna use it, let's get rid of it. Right now, stuff's bringing good money, and from what I've been hearing from residents and you guys have been hearing, everybody's satisfied with the grading that we're getting done. And instead of buying a packer, because the packer definitely adds quality to the job, if we're not gonna use it, just get it gone. I mean, it's pointless to keep storing it. I mean, it's just my opinion. I don't
It's a
think-
1980, you remember the model?
I think.
3.
So,
So it's not getting any newer either.
I take offense to that. I was born in '83.
That's really old.
But that's my opinion, is if we're not gonna use it, just, it is what it is. Find the repair receipt, like the receipts we've got for the engine, the transmission, have all that stuff, and, it is what it is. Like you say, it's 38 years old, so.
Where do you want to post it for sale on?
Guess they can go right to the auction. That's where everything is bringing the money.
I'd like to make one suggestion there. I would talk to Ziegler Equipment, because I heard they're looking for stuff. And
I
they
think it
have
might be a little too old for what they're looking. It might, because a lot of the dealers,
Sure.
I just ran into it a couple of weeks ago, even us down in Rogers there. Stuff's getting to be too old and we don't want to touch it because there's just too much risk
Sure.
associated with it, especially if something that's been sitting a couple of years. You start getting the lot rot, the dry rotted seals. We already put a set of batteries in it. I can text the guy here and see if they'd be interested.
I just heard that from one of the Otis Brook supervisors at Minks up there.
Yeah,
And he said, get a hold of Ziegler. So I don't know what is in.
I can touch base with a couple salesmen up there, see what they're thinking, but I'm just
they
thinking it
did
might be-
work on it too, so it's,
it might be a little too old. That's my only concern.
yeah, get rid of the old, that's fine. I understand that.
Times are changing, Joel.
83.
Okay, how do we want to proceed? Just talk to Ziegler and then push it to next month?
Or do we want to bring it up at the annual meeting, see what all the residents?
I
No?
think we kind of talked about that last month. If we do that, that'll open up an hour-long argument.
Okay.
That's what they've elected us to do, is to
Just make
decide what
decisions.
we're gonna do with this stuff, so.
Okay, no, I personally look at auction. I think you're gonna get your best bang for your buck right now because everybody's looking at dealer lots and,
Pull everything together.
they're gonna give you the best, you got an open market then. Versus one guy coming in saying, here's what I'll give it for you. I mean, if that makes sense. I mean, no,
Yeah,
offense, I mean, it's a good idea, but
Yeah, we can't really just have somebody come in and say, we'll give you, offer you this much for this
Yeah,
guy bought on.
public bid.
Is there options?
So what auction house do you want to send it to?
I was happy with what we got out of the plow trucks last round.
So our previously used one that older gentleman runs?
I just worked there.
I mean, we've already got it in our resolution for Hillers.
I think that actually has to get updated. I think those are only good 1 year at a time.
Okay. I was happy with what you guys did with the plow trucks.
Here's my opinion on it, and then I'd have to step out because obviously then it's a conflict of interest, but
Mhm.
if you're seriously thinking about selling the Massey tractor, the road grader, you've got the attachments for the tractor that are gonna be completely worthless, or not
Mhm.
worthless, but useless to the township. Just have an auction company come in and do an online auction right here. Don't do a live auction, just do an online auction right here. And we've got the mower, the brush mower, we got a road reclaimer, we have that full frame snow blower that's never been mounted. If we're not gonna use that stuff, that is gonna bring the most money if you clean it up and have it sitting right here versus bringing it to a consignment auction. We would advertise, or any auction company would advertise that it's a township owned piece, so people know why it's getting sold, but people always do wonder, why is it at a consignment auction?
Sure.
If you're selling it right here out of the building, kind of eases their mind a little bit.
Sure.
Is that a motion, Dan?
I can't.
No, that makes sense.
Do you have I know, nobody's putting you on the spot, but would you have a specific idea?
I would,
Stefas?
I would say I would charge 0% commission to the township. I do the 10% buyer's premium, just like I did on the last auction when I sold the plow trucks. Depending on when you wanted to do it. Typically, I run my auctions, I turn the bidding on a Friday, I have them end the following Tuesday. I'd be open probably 1 or 2 days for inspection for people to come up and take a look at them if they want. Probably charge maybe a $300 advertising budget, to put it out in the newspaper. I don't do a lot of newspaper ads. You get a lot more bang for your buck than the internet. I've got 17,000 people for automatic emails that we email out, once a week. We've got almost 20,000 people signed up with bid numbers, so we've got a pretty damn good following. So that would be my recommendation, is to do an online auction and just do it right here.
The thing with the Massey tractor, why I want to bring that to the table initially, talking with our road workers, they don't feel safe in it. The tractor's too light. It gets thrown at me that you work at the John Deere dealer. I could care what color it is. It really could. The tractor, quite honestly, it's too light for what we're doing. The brush cutter we're putting on the back of it, it's at the minimum of what that brush cutter is. And you get in any road ditch, it's tippy. The safety aspect of it, we bring a brush cutter down, you're throwing stuff everywhere. We've already broke the windshield out once already because stuff was bouncing off and bounced back at the windshield. I don't know, from a safety aspect, and what we used to do, we used to rent a tractor for $2,500 for a week to do the road ditch mowing. How we ever came to spend $100,000 on a tractor that, has got 300-ish hours on it now, and
258, just up tonight,
258,
about 50 hours a year.
and we were allowed 40 hours per week on a rental tractor for doing it for $2,500. I just don't see the cost savings. I know it's been said that buying a piece of machinery is an investment, and you make money on it. Well, maybe on the old iron, yes. The new iron, it's turn and burn, That's my thoughts on that Massey tractor, I guess. We've got the road grader. We've never used a road grader. The reclaimer, the tractor isn't even big enough to pull the reclaimer. There's 2 pieces of machinery right there we can't use for the tractor that we currently have. We've got the loader on the tractor, but the wheels are set out further than the loader is, than the bucket is.
Can I actually ask you a question on that? Is that common to do that?
No. Hay operations, yes.
Okay.
For moving round bales and whatnot.
Okay. I was just gonna say, if that was
No,
an abnormal deal,
no.
if we were gonna sell it, we'd want to get that flipped around to have it where it should be.
You
but-
can, but any farmer doing hay applications, you want the tires as wide as you can, so you straddle the windrow. Some guys will do it so they don't tear, not that, this one doesn't have a rack and pinion axle. This is just a stamped steel one, but the guys with rack and pinions, they'll run them out so they don't catch the axle on a door frame. But no, we'd probably want to move the tires in so it's inside the loader bucket for pushing snow, because otherwise you're just driving on everything. You just plow. But certain applications, yeah, you do want them wide, but for
You don't think it would hinder the value or?
no, it's
Looking at it, they
no, it's a couple-hour job to switch them around. It's not gonna affect it, because you put the loader on it, for just moving trees and whatnot, then it's fine. But
What year is that tractor?
14, 15, 16,
Well, it was purchased in 17.
17.
Okay.
So it's at the end of 17. It's probably 18 then.
So there's probably no warranty or anything.
There's no warranty on it, no.
June, July. I think is when it was all purchased, I believe.
And then you guys voted in
July,
July.
August.
I don't remember.
But no, and that thing's been a sore subject since day one with everybody. But I just can't see, for the amount of hours we're putting on it, if we're averaging 50 hours a year, and we rented one for $2,500 a year and we're allowed 40 hours, it's not making sense.
And when we rent, we can rent the size we need.
Yeah, it's a heavier frame.
Smaller for.
And I don't care where you get it from,
Something
because,
bigger or something.
I don't care where you get it from.
No, the 2,500, did that include the mowers or was that just?
That was with the boom mower attached to it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, well, we,
It's in the township insider. We're pretty much all summer.
Yeah, it was a good setup. There was both mowers on it, that John Deere that they leased, and then you could mow both at the same time with it, the way it was laid out, and it worked fine. They didn't have any factors with it, and the only thought that I had with it was Carl Sanford used to do the ditch mowing, and he quit doing it because we just cut back to once a year. He didn't want to carry the liability insurance to, well, we'd have the choice to do it when we needed to do it. We had a dry year and we were only gonna mow once, mow once. If you have a need to mow twice, lease it again in the fall. But lease what we need to do the job we need to do. It just kind of seemed to make more sense than going out there with what we got. And somebody out there like a horse farmer would probably be all over that thing with the setup that they've got. Yeah. Especially if they were going out to buy one of those nowadays, you'd be waiting 4 or 5 months to get it, when this is township owned, it's standing in a garage, it's well kept, I think we bring good money.
Which,
Is there a motion to sell the Massey and the grader and the implements that go with the Massey tractor online, on an online sale?
And grader implements.
And the grader implements.
who wants to go to Greg's and get the V plow? Because, you know, we got, there's, what I play is Barn on 95, he's got the V plow for the front of that. I don't know how that was on there, how heavy that son of a bitch even is.
It's heavy.
this new builder is the same.
I don't want to drive that thing. Maybe we could ask Dahlheimer to assist us.
Because I got no clue how to drive a road grader.
Well, one thing we ought to have done on it, because you have to stall it out to shut it off. And I think, I don't know what it would cost to have somebody fix that ignition switch on it so it starts and shuts off the way it's supposed to. If we get somebody that wants to come and look at it, I think it would be,
So we've got standing issues with the grader then?
yeah, it's, well, in order to shut it off, you gotta basically stall it out. And that shouldn't be. And I didn't find that out until we had it standing outside here and we started it up to bring it inside. They got it inside, they couldn't shut it off. We had to shut it off the way you'd normally shut it off, and they had to basically stall it down and then kill the motor. And I didn't realize that's how Dwayne had been operating it, but with the work that we had done on it by Ziegler, I don't know what it would take. It would take just a switch or what exactly it is. That's
Maybe figure out old enough where it's got the old mechanical.
Yeah, probably a pull it mechanical pump off. I'd say just leave it as is and, you know, otherwise we're gonna start sticking more money into something that's.
Well, at least look into it to see what it would entail. If it's just an electrical switch, if just the toggle switch on the dash, if that's what actually shuts it off, it's not a full, kind of
Lever.
full operation. It's an electrical switch. So if that's not making contact, if we gotta, I don't know if that fried exactly what the whole premise behind that
I'm just
is.
worried you're dealing with 40-year-old wire harnesses that it might open up a can of worms and,
Well, it should just be two big wires going to the backside of that switch.
you know, or a dead man switch.
Well, that's what it is.
Okay.
That's-
I think you just throw a toggle switch in
Yeah.
on a wire somewhere. If there's no electricity going to the engine, it's gonna kill it.
So Thomas, would you be willing to get a hold of Dahlheimer, see if he'd be willing to get that V plow?
Yep.
Is there a motion to sell the tractor, grader, and all implements online?
So moved.
That was Bill.
Yes.
Is there a second to that motion?
I would second that motion.
Motion's been made, seconded to sell the Massey tractor, the grader, and all the equipment to our implements go with them. We'll do this in a separate motion. Is there any further discussion?
So are we gonna set to auction, so you can't, can you set a minimum?
Is there a reason to set a minimum? I mean,
Well, that's
right
true.
now, I mean,
Yeah.
equipment's, if you're not happy with what stuff's bringing right now, you're not gonna be happy.
No,
And
any other time of
this-
year.
This economy isn't gonna hold us forever. And if it pops and we go back to what it was in 08, 09, 010, you can take what that stuff's worth and cut it in half.
Motion has been made. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to sell the Massey tractor, the grader, and all the implements to go with them, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Motion's carried.
One abstention.
No, talk about-
One abstention.
And now the discussion will be on procedure for selling. If we are going to have another option, we have to have a motion to give them a,
Don't we have to have Jason form up?
Yeah.
is that a motion?
I would move the motion to have Hillers have our own separate auction, online auction.
Is it called an on-site online auction?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I was just looking at your website.
And the motion should include, does it have to include that we're gonna have to have a resolution drawn up?
Okay. Is there a second to the motion to have Hiller conduct an online on-site auction and resolution for, what's it called?
Interested officer, I think they call it.
Authorization.
Special interest or some special interested officer. That's what it's called.
Is there a second to the motion?
Make it, who made it? I'd second that.
Made the motion.
Thomas made the motion, Bill seconded the motion to create a resolution where Hiller online, or Hiller auction services will do an online on-site sale of the Massey tractor and grader. And I believe we should probably let you people have the deadline or the timeline.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up to you. If you approve it, next month we would approve the resolution and then sit down and look at a calendar and pick out the date when we want to have it and everything. Get that squared away next month, do it later part of August most likely.
Yep, because then you're fresh for the snow.
Yep.
You got the brush stuff, so it's still current.
Is there any further discussion?
I just want to verify something here.
Oh, I can tell.
Something's coming, he's gonna slap us. The one, well, I don't know, the one that was adopted previously was August 18th of 2020. Is it good for a year? Does it have to be renewed every year?
It's a separate item.
Okay.
No, they're good
They're
for
one
a
year.
calendar year.
Yeah.
Calendar year, yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Because we always did it with Anderson for doing the repairs. It was always voted on the beginning of the year. And
So he will need another one.
Yes.
He'll be right on the cusp.
Pardon?
By the time you get there, you'll be right on the cusp. So.
I just wanted to
No,
double
it's
check.
calendar year,
Yeah, it was done December 30th.
December 31st.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote on the motion to have Hiller online on-site auction, sell the Massey and grader and all equipment. And the resolution will be forthcoming next month. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. And opposed, no. And one abstain. Motion is carried. Thank you. We will move on to the road report.
All right, I handed out, it will be done in 15 minutes. Let's just ask questions.
10.
All right, just in case you hadn't heard, the Princeton Township was not selected to receive the LRIP funds. So we will need to change our focus and finances to the needs of 50th Avenue. So in that vein, I went off and had asked Todd McLeod to do an engineer's estimate for portions of 50th. You'll see on the, I've kind of highlighted it. The subgrade repair, this is for the section, the first 1 mile section south of Highway 95. Subgrade excavation would be about $50,000. To reclaim is 24, and then to pave, you'll see there's a map in there also. It's about 23 or 2,400 feet total. So half of that 1 mile section is going to be reclaimed with a 400-foot subcut area and a 260-foot subcut area with fabric. And again, those distances are approximate. Once we get out there, we'll know more. But that total cost for that portion is $198,448. One other thing that was discussed, I talked to Todd tonight, and that second mile south of Highway 95, where the road, we had that large washout or whatever the heck that was. We're proposing that it might not be a bad idea to have that whole center section that's so uneven to just reclaim that and put it to gravel for a year, just kind of let it settle out. And then the following year when we come, hopefully we'd be in 23, we could do a mill and overlay, reclaim that whole second half. We're still in negotiations and working out with Ynet on some of this. And I'll bring that up in a little bit here, but if we were to reclaim that south half, it'd be about another 24,000 on top of that, because it's about that same amount. The distance is about the same, another 2,400 feet. So some of that money that was planned to do 40th it's still on the spreadsheet. Because a lot of it depends on our partnership with Ynet. I think we had, for paved roads, I think we had figured 299,000. That was part of the budget from their last meetings. So I want to continue with that. So whatever we need to do to shuffle that money around to make 50th work, that's kind of what the plan is. If you guys are all for that. We also wanted to, before we did any reclaiming on that south mile, we want to do some soil borings at at least three locations. And then if you recall from our road review, there was another 3 or 4 locations within the township. We'll just get more for our money if the boring, the engineering firm comes to do the borings, and just get all of them done. The soil's not going to change in the next 3, 5, 10, 50 years. So we'll have all that information on hand for when we actually want to get moving on some of these other projects where we have some sinkholes and those types of things. That's the update on that 50th gravel roads. Chloride's been applied to, well, last month I covered the roads that were covered, and then in June, since our last meeting, we applied chloride at 50th Street, 35th Street, 19th Street, Sunset Road, and they just did 107th and Brickton Road today. Graveling should be complete by mid-June. For tree removal, trimming, and chipping, that all is continuing, kind of an ongoing process here with that work. I mentioned at the last meeting about some stump grinding out on Den High area. We might be able to just cut those off, lower to the ground. We don't absolutely have to do the stump grinding. And then again, after a few more days of brushing, I'd like to, Thomas, I know you kind of were looking into some equipment, something a little bit more substantial for a brushing tool than what we have.
Yeah, the one that we got, even talking with Kenny, it's kind of a high-end homeowner type. He does it, but you sit there and
Yeah.
you just waste time on it because it's a homeowner unit.
Buy the right saw you need, because I know when I'm cutting holes in the roof, so you know which one works and which one doesn't.
We already discussed the boom and brush crack filling, chip sealing. The crack filling was finished May 21st and 22nd. I already mentioned that second bullet item about the soil borings. Once we have the final invoice from Allied Paving, I'll be sending both the city of Princeton and Baldwin their portions of the invoice. City of Princeton's the total is about 1631. You'll see the two amounts there. For Baptist Church Road is about 484. For the crack filling on 33rd is about 783. Baldwin Township's portion for half of Afton Road is about $911. It mentions in the agenda about getting a resolution. I don't know that I'll need to do that. I spoke with Jason about it today, so I'll just be speaking with I've already spoke with Bob from Princeton, Bob Gerald, and Patrick Hudson from Baldwin. So they know about this. I've been keeping them up to date on it as the projects has moved forward.
One thing I'd like to mention, Bill, thank you for the work you're doing on this. I did not realize how bad Baptist Church was until I seen all the toilet paper all over the road.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
That's where all that went from Walmart last
Oh,
year.
yeah, I did not realize it was in that poor of condition, just driving down it, but, seeing the amount of work that went into it.
Yeah, there was a lot of patching there that I think I mentioned at the last meeting, probably 4 times what I had thought needed. Once I got out, started walking it and marking where they needed to patch. Yeah, I thought it was maybe 10 square yards, or like 40 square yards. So that's going to be some of the things that need to be adjusted here that we'll be getting from Allied, I believe. One other thing, that, again, speaking with Bob, when I was discussing these portions of their portion of the bill, I asked him about utilizing or working with them on pavement patching, and he said they'd be happy to let us utilize their patching equipment. So when some of our employees here, I'd like to get at least 2 of them. And I told him how much we needed. He says, well, if that's the case, he said, I can probably just have one of my guys go out with your guys. We can do it in a day. One thing he did recommend, just to keep things cleaner, is that we get an account at the hot mix plant in Elk River, and I believe Doug has already done that. So we've got an account with the hot mix plant down there. Mowing shoulders, again, we mentioned earlier, we'll be starting that hopefully this next week. I'd really like to get that wrapped up by July 1st.
And we're only doing the first 5 foot, I believe, this round, correct?
8.
8, okay, I'm
Yep.
sorry. Yep.
So complaints, we had a resident complain about a portion of Brickton Road right out front of my house that received gravel, but nobody else did. So they called Thomas about that. So I explained the situation to Thomas. He followed up with the resident, which is my neighbor, and explained that the portion of the road just to the north was all fixed last year. We had frost boils. We had all new gravel put down on that portion last year. It didn't need more gravel, and they had not gravelled south of that correction where they made those corrections. So that's why it received gravel. So that was explained. I don't know if that kept them happy or not, but they drive on it every day and they seem to be pretty happy about it. So. Another resident called me and left a message on the township phone. He was wondering why Audubon Road that he lives on was only getting crack filled. From what I recall, he said that he'd lived there since the late 90s and that the road hasn't been fixed for years. He thinks it should have been overlaid several years ago because there's gopher holes, or gophers have been under there, there's deep cracks. He was wondering why it hasn't been done yet. I explained to him the history of maintenance on that road due to all the information that I had from Todd McLeod. I invited him to the annual meeting to express his concerns about the poor maintenance of that township road. And I also, like I said, I mentioned that the last maintenance was a crack fill back in 2009. So more than 12 years ago was the last time we did any maintenance on that road. We had a compliment. Township received thanks from several residents, at least 4 to 5, in appreciation of the chloride on the roads, and 1 complaint. And then I would like to make tonight, have a motion to work with Jason Hill to finish up on the shared road agreements. So I don't know if that's something I need to submit or someone else wants, because I've got a lot of it ready to go, but instead of doing it all myself and having him make corrections, it's just going to be easier for us to work through it together. I think it'll save time. So I'd like to make a motion for myself to work with Jason Hill to finish up the road line maintenance agreements.
Motion has been made to work with Jason Hill and Bill on a shared road cost with City of Princeton, Baldwin Township,
And Bogus
And-
in the city.
and the city and Bogus. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to finish the road agreements with Princeton Township, or Princeton City, Baldwin Township, Bogasbrook Township, well, Baldwin Township, I guess I got those, and Wyandotte Township,
And Greenbush.
and Greenbush. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to do the shared agreements with our township attorney and all those different entities, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion's carried. Supervisor reports. Don? Thomas?
I just have a clarification, maybe Doug and Bill can fill in the gaps here. Been brought to my attention that there were some road signs put back up that were taken down. And we have since taken them down, if I'm not mistaken. That were put back up by an individual resident.
At this point, no comment.
Anything else?
I got nothing.
City planning commission is next Monday night.
Currently, I'll call you if I know it changes.
Okay.
I
And it,
have to be able to get back into my computer that now locked me out.
and the airport has, the city has opened bids for the airport taxi lane improvement. That's Thursday.
After being delayed a year, right?
What's that?
Was it delayed a year?
The the taxi lane, the runway was finished a year ago. But the taxi lane is going to be probably be done this fall. FAA locked up some funds for a while, so it got delayed, but they opened bidding on Thursday. I haven't seen the bids yet.
How was the Lions brunch? No, there's nothing. How was the Lions brunch this weekend?
What's that?
How was the Lions brunch?
I heard it was a good turnout.
It was well attended.
No fire board meeting, the next one's not until July. And I did not make it to the planning commission meeting last week, but from what it sounds like, we pretty much talked about all the topics tonight anyway, so it doesn't sound like there's anything else new.
Okay, now I can start on my.
I make a motion.
You almost got hit in the back of the head. Anything, sir?
No.
That was always all with the IRS.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to jail?
No, not for that. There are other questions out there yet. No, you're right up front, I made a mistake. When I was, apparently, when I put in the withholding for September, which is paid in October, I indicated that it was third quarter, not fourth quarter. So yesterday, I received 4 pieces of mail from the IRS. One saying we had a refund coming from September And then there was a check that came separate from that. Another one said that I'd misreported something else, but don't sweat it, we're just telling you. And then another one said, you under withheld for fourth quarter, you owe us this amount of money, which is approximately what they had sent us. So I called them, I got a hold of them today, and they told me, just void the check, mail it to this special address with a little explanation, and it'll all get cleared up. So I'm taking their word for it. I don't know if that's wise or not, but it seems to me that probably happens frequently, and they have a procedure down for how to handle it.
The interesting part was there were 4 different letters and each one had different numbers.
Yeah.
And the check that we received matches nothing that any of the others had.
Yeah. Yeah, it was all, but those are all automatically generated letters. There's no human being involved in any of those. So, yeah.
Press 1.
Huh?
Please press 3.
Yeah.
Now comes the important question of the night. Is there any further business to come before the meeting? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried, we are adjourned.
You put a time down. I was-
This conference will now be recorded.